Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to go ahead and kick off our last session of Top Kit Workshop 2025. I'm so thankful to have this group from the University of West Florida, and I don't want to take any of their time, so I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you again so much for presenting for us.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for having us. Our presentation is implementing an interactive interprofessional education module across departments. And first off, Jenae, I'll let you go.
Oh, to pull up the polls. I just like maximized my screen, so it's like, okay. So polls, we did ask a couple of questions. It looks like everybody that answered the question uses a shared module, so that's great. We asked a lot of this so that we could kind of gauge what the audience kind of knew already and who was familiar with what. We had a second question on badging at your institution, and about 70% said yes and 30% said no. And so those of you who are using badges, we'd love to hear your comments as we go through about what products you are using. And then the third question was, how much input are faculty given at your institution regarding technology choices? And for that, we had 25% said a little, 50% said a fair amount, and then 25% said a lot. So we love doing this because it kind of gives us a background of the audience we're working with. And if you haven't answered the polls, please do so. We also have some Q&A that's already happening. So as we're talking, if you want to ask a question, please feel free, and we'll get to those at the end.
All right, and we just wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Andi Nelson, and I am a clinical assistant professor in the Department of Health Sciences and Administration. I'm a physical therapist, actually, by profession, and I'm also have a couple of other roles. I'm the Director of Educational Innovation for my college, the High Impact Practice Liaison, and our Center for Teaching and Learning and Technology Fellow, along with the co-director of our Center for Interprofessional Education and Practice.
Jenae? I'm Jenae Burkhart, and I'm the Associate Director for the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology at the University of West Florida.
I am Cindy Gruwell, Associate Librarian, Coordinator of Scholarly Communication, and I am the Library Liaison to the College of Health.
All right, so an overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what is IPE. That's another, our acronym for Interprofessional Education. We're going to talk about our shared module, tools, the scope of this project, Pressbooks, which is an OER, and H5P as the OER. What's the impact of this module in our OER, and what's next, and some insights. So first off, for those of you that are not in healthcare, just wanted to go over what interprofessional education is. And so this is a definition from the World Health Organization. IPE was first defined by the World Health Organization as the type of education that occurs when students or members of two or more professions learn with, from, and about each other to improve collaboration and the quality of care they give to patients. So this is a little different. I know there's terms in academia like interdisciplinary. Interprofessionalism is really the big focus is how to work better to improve patient care. And you have to have at least two different professions. So that's what's different. So a lot of the activities that we do are activities that require students to work together and learn and focus on communication and different things along those lines. But it's not just having them sit in the same room to listen to a lecture. It's that interaction and having that, like for an example, case studies or an activity that involves patient care. So that's a little bit different than just what interdisciplinary is. And to give you a little bit of background on why we created interprofessional education module, when our dean, Dean Villar, came to UWF, he decided to bring back interprofessional education as an emphasis to our college. We tried to do this before COVID, and then COVID hit. So when he came in 2022, he really wanted us to bring back interprofessional education. So he thought we needed to get all of our students on the same level of knowing what it is, and the best way to do that was to create a module. And then I'm going to hand it over to Jenae.
So the next part, as Annie and I were like talking about this presentation, I really appreciated the fact that looking back, how much discussion and exploration we actually did. And that's a huge part of this presentation too, the communication and collaboration it takes, and how we achieved some of the things we did. So the discussion and the exploration were the longest, or I took the longest of this whole project, because we did go through a number of different tools. We went through a number of different outcomes that we wanted. We had to consider the stakeholders, and we'll go more into this as well. But that to me has been the most rewarding part of this whole process, is the collaborative efforts between our different departments.
And one of the things that we wanted to do in these early discussions was we didn't want our faculty to have to worry about having to add another textbook, or our students to have to worry about the cost associated with that. So we decided to work with our librarian, Cindy, to see if we could create a press book regarding IPE, so that we could just put that into the module. And so we worked on that along with making the module, and got finally that published in 2024. And then we did go ahead and design and test it in spring of 2024. We ran several pilots, including this summer 2024 and fall 2024. And this past spring, we did implement the module in most of the departments in the College of Health. And we are still, as with all launches, evaluating it as we go and adding on as we need to. Oops, sorry. All right, Jenae.
So the goals of the project, and this is really why the discussion and the researching different tools took so long, is because we had some big goals going in. And what I find interesting, and so we have faculty in the room, you know, you're welcome to chat what you think about this, what I'm about to say. And then if you have instructional designers, because really we came in with these goals and some of them meant different things to each of us. So when we said automated, you know, it's like, okay, who is going to have this effort? Like automation is great. It's going to be great for somebody, but there's going to be some effort on somebody else's part. So does that effort fall on the instructional designer? Does it fall on the faculty? Or does it fall on Andi, who is, you know, the coordinator of the program? So we also wanted the content, although it was automated, to be engaging, which are two different things a lot of times. You know, you don't need to use just a multiple choice question. We need to have actual engagement with the content, have students actively involved with each other as well. We wanted it to be faculty friendly. And when I say that, I think this is funny too, because when you hear faculty friendly, sometimes as an instructional designer, you think, okay, the faculty doesn't want to do anything, you know, but we wanted to make sure we didn't add to the faculty load. You know, we wanted something that the faculty could embed, that they could maintain, but not have to build on their own. Andi mentioned before, but they have a lot of adjuncts as well within her department. And these adjuncts are not educators. Typically, they're typically in the field. And so we, again, want to make it easier. An adjunct doesn't need to come in and design everything. An adjunct needs to come in and have content that's ready to go. We also wanted controlled content. We didn't want the faculty to have to be able to change the module itself. But again, being friendly to the faculty, we wanted flexible grading. So we wanted to be able to pull in a module with assignments, but the assignment could be extra credit. It could be worth points. It could be part of the lesson planning. So we controlled the content, but we allowed for flexible grading. We wanted it stackable. Andi's going to talk about, there are actually 4 different badges that go with this. We wanted it badgeable. We had the buy-in from the dean, but we needed the buy-in from the chairs, the faculty, and the students as well. Or, like, you know, it's any project you push out, if your stakeholders don't see value in it, or if they don't have the buy-in, it's probably going to have some flaws, and you're going to have some pushback on that. So some of the tools that we did, and the process took a while because of the different goals that we had. Sometimes we would get to the end of a development of a tool and say, okay, it doesn't work like we thought, or this is going to take a little bit more effort on the faculty part. So do we want to keep going this way? We at University of West Florida, we have the Canvas LMS. We used video capture. Our tool is Panopto currently. And we moved into Pressbooks because we wanted something that would allow for engagement in this module and not just something that the students would just check off. H5P came a little bit later, and that allowed us to add some like interactive content, games, simulations, and things like that. We're also using Badger or Canvas badges, and we're using Pathways, which will eventually turn into Canvas credentials. That's our next step. We're using Pathways, Badger as the free version right now, and then we'll move into Canvas credentials after that. We do have an LTI process. So any tool that faculty are thinking about, they come through our office. We talk about accessibility first off. We talk about, does it work in Canvas? We talk about security. And then we talk about funding. So we have funding sources. We have a technology fee that students pay. Faculty can then ask for that fee to be used in a certain way. They submit proposals for that. So that's how we actually got H5P. And so we work with the faculty throughout this process to say, or the department, to say, okay, what tool do you need? What's the need university-wide? And then how do we get it through legal, procurement, accessibility, security, and all of those levels, and then to integrate it into Canvas.
And the one thing too is, being a faculty member, the communication between myself and Jenae as the instructional designer is so important, because with loading it has been more complicated trying to use the versions of badging and pathways that we currently have. And Jenae is a saint for all that she does in the behind the scenes. And that's where, you know, having that good relationship, the faculty with our instructional designers, it really helps, because when I tell them things, like we talked about in the previous slides, about how we want to control the content, because I have that module set with certain restrictions and prerequisites and everything along those lines, to have them go through that module in a certain order in order to get that badge to be launched to them, which Jenae has done behind the scenes. And so that relationship that we all have with our instructional designers, nobody wants to mess up things because they all love Jenae. So, so it's really a great synergy of the communication that we have with our Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology, because, you know, understanding about the hard work that occurs on both ends to get this, so that faculty can just have something sort of like, we drop it in their shell and they can go knowing that this will eventually lead to a badge for their students.
Mm-hmm. And another thing we have, and Andi mentioned before, that she is one of our college fellows. And so we have fellows liaisons in each of the colleges, and they are kind of our hub to those colleges about what they need, because the College of Health is going to need different things than our College of Arts and Sciences. And we depend on those liaisons to come and talk to us about what tools are needed. We also have a faculty advisory board that we work closely with. And even we launched a new tool in Canvas this week, and I was able to reach out to a select number of the liaison and say, look, I'm going to put this message in there. What do you think about it? And a lot of them came back and said, we don't have the bandwidth for that message right now. And so I just was able to pull it back real quick and not distract. We just came back from spring break, so not distract the faculty. But for us, we find that it solves so many problems ahead of time, because I can reach out to those liaisons and get their feedback.
All right, so now to talk about the module. This is just the home page for the module, but basically the module itself is one giant module that contains all 5 of these modules. And so just a little bit about interprofessional education. The Interprofessional Education Collaborative came up with the 4 standards for that. And so those things that they cover are the values and ethics, roles and responsibilities, communications, teams, and teamwork. So we wanted to make sure that our students understood those core competencies, and that's why we created this. So this module, when they complete all 5 of these modules, takes about 3 to 4 hours. But a lot of our faculty are even using this as their attendance assignment the first week, just so it gets everybody on the same page. So I'm going to go ahead and go ahead to the next one. Sorry, I'm going to escape, and I'm just going to sort of show you what that looks like. And so this, can y'all see that, Jenae?
Yes.
Okay. And so This is just one big module that has all of that in there. And so, as I said before, they have prerequisites. They have to complete all items in a certain order, and it forces them all the way down. So what we said by plug and play is I can just, get on a quick Zoom with a faculty member who wants to have this in their course. And then I go ahead, they add me as a TA, I load it into their shell, and then it's in there. And then Jenae goes on the back end and establishes the badging and the pathways. And so with that, the only thing that faculty have to do is figure out what they want as this completion quiz value. Some people have wanted as 100 points. Some people want it as just, check as done. We have other people who have elaborate point systems, like they want 76 points for it or something like that. So that's the biggest thing. And to make sure that they take whatever this assignment is and put it in the proper grade category and under assignments, because that's been a problem too. But it's really nice to have this all contained, and they can place it anywhere in their course. Mainly they put it in introductions or cornerstone courses. But some people, some departments like to put it in their professionalism courses, because a lot of the health professions have professionalism courses, but we want it early in the program. So as I'll elaborate in a second, this is part of a badging pathway. And so before they have those other experiences where they get more interactive with the other students, they have the foundations they need for interprofessional education. And so this is sort of what it looks like for the foundations micro badge on our end in pathways. So we can see how many people, this is from a previous semester, had completed it and gotten the badge. And then these are the badges. So when they complete this module, they get this IPE Foundations badge, but then, throughout different activities we have through the college and university, they could earn, if they participate in 2 different of those activities, they can get the Teamwork and Communication badge. And then we have a Practice and Action badge, and that's specific to the discipline. Somebody in nursing versus athletic training will have different requirements to meet that interprofessional education and practice and action badge. Now, if they go ahead and get all 3 of these badges, they get the completion badge. And not every department is going to be able to have their students get all 3 badges, but the majority of them do, depending on what type of program it is. And just to give you a little bit more information about the module, currently it's embedded in 8 courses across multiple sections in 6 different departments. We're currently doing some changes in a couple of our departments on class size. So they were wanting to add this in the fall when they do those revisions. They didn't want to add this on top of things. But as I said before, it's placed in the first couple of semesters in a program, mostly in the professionalism or introductory courses, as I said. Intro to Exercise Science is an example, the Health Science Cornerstone class, and then we have a Social Work Foundation Year Field Instruction class. Currently, we have 537 students who have completed the IPE Foundations micro badge since January 2024. So really excited about that. Cindy.
Hi. So as Andi mentioned a little bit earlier, there is a textbook, and it was decided to use Pressbooks to produce that. Pressbooks is an open education resource that's a web-based authoring tool. And the title of the book is right here, Building Bridges, Establishing a Foundation for Interprofessional Collaboration in Healthcare. Next slide. The benefits of using Pressbooks is that it's hosted by the library, and I am the librarian that works with open education resources. It's a no-cost textbook. First day access is available, and it can be downloaded into Canvas. It's learning outcomes aligned because the content comes from the creators of this project. It's engaging and interactive and contextualized to the discipline. It's easy, what you see is what you get interface, and you can pick your own book style. Next slide. So this is just a real quick screenshot of chapter 1 of the book, and it's text-based. You can add media such as images, video, and audio, and also H5P, which Andi is going to talk a bit more about. But it's pretty straightforward to use it. and which makes it nice and smooth as the production went along. Next slide. And this is that same page. This is what it looks like in the web-based book. Nice and clean. Next slide.
Okay.
Andi, before you go for it, like, Cindy, can you talk about how many press books we have on campus right now? Do you have a number?
Yeah, right. Currently on campus, we have 18 press books that have been made in a wide variety of disciplines.
Yeah.
So science to humanities.
And if a faculty member is interested in creating a press book at UWF, what's the process? Because we sat through an OER session yesterday, and I really thought about how we're doing things at UWF, and it would be good to share some of that. So how?
Oh, okay.
How
Yeah,
would get into it?
We have a research guide that talks a lot about press books and how you use it, what it's used for, you know, kind of all the background stuff. And essentially, if a faculty member wants to create a book or adapt a book, when you adapt a book is you take other content and you adapt it into a new book, or they may create from scratch. Basically, they put in an application and we just ask, you know, what course is it related to, when they'll use it, a little bit about how they'll use it. And it's a pretty straightforward application. Once we get the application, it's reviewed by several people, myself, Dean of the library, and also the director of CTLT. And then essentially I work with most of the authors essentially through the whole process from beginning to end, and do some review toward the end, which is really more of the mechanics behind the scenes. Some of the books have been, people have had them reviewed also with a more of a critical review.
And we do have a stipend process.
Right. Yes. Sorry, I forgot. We do offer, usually once a year, we put out a call for people who are interested in creating books. And we have a stipend program that will cover everything from whether they're creating ancillary items for a book, or for a course, I should say, of open education resources. So it could be test banks, assignment banks. Also, we do $2,000 for adapting a book. Again, that's where they take content and create the book itself. And then $4,000 for books that are created from scratch.
And as a person who's done that a couple of times, you know, having a co-author is highly suggested because having to have somebody hold you accountable during the process is definitely a good thing. So with those grants, you can split it with another person, and it just makes the work for it more manageable. But having Cindy guide us has been a great thing. Can't say enough good things about the library with helping us during this process, because it really has, you know, been a great addition, not only for this module, but for other subjects. I was one of her first guinea pigs for our midterm class, and I created a OER for my midterm class. And you know, you don't know until you start getting into OERs how the reach is. You think you're doing it for your students. And like with that book, I can't remember, Cindy, I only think I have like 4 countries who haven't looked at that book. And, you know, I have over 1 million, you know, people who've viewed my book. And that's something that I didn't even think of when I did it, but that's, say, 1 million students that I've helped. And so, you know, I know that was a discussion yesterday during the OER process about like, well, you don't get paid for it or whatnot. But for me, that's enough payment in myself that I've helped cost savings for that many students on all these different occasions. And even this book for, you know, building bridges that we created, I mean, that's already gotten over 4,000 students, and we have not had 4,000 complete the badge. So it's definitely being used elsewhere. So it's just one of those things that I think is sort of a labor of love, but also, you know, I have a high schooler, and I hope more people adopt OERs because it'll help his costs later on too. So anyway, getting back to our modules. So now H5P, I first started using H5P when I was using Pressbooks. And I loved it because you're able to create engaging activities and add engaging content into your textbooks. With that, H5P really helps to create that rich interactive experience. And it's mobile friendly. And so no matter what device they're on, it'll have that same experience. And so I was going to go ahead and show y'all. Let me know if this works. Can y'all see that as I switch screens? Can y'all see this? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So there's many different types of H5P, and for those of you that aren't familiar with it, you know, it's something as a faculty member, we don't have to have a big tech background. We don't have to know HTML or, you know, computer programming or anything along those lines. But there's all different types of content that you can add, and it can be content that you add to your Canvas pages, to your Pressbook pages, to your you know, as assignments. And so these are just some examples of all the different types that you can create, including crosswords, flashcards, drag the words, all different kinds of stuff. This game map is really fun. So these are all different kinds of content that you can add into, say, a Pressbook or into your course. And so I've used that for this interprofessional education module also. So getting back to this, now, this is an example of the one that we did, and Katherine Greene, who was one of our collaborators for the IPE module and the IPE book. She couldn't be here today, but she is an H5P goddess, I would like to say. She knows this stuff like the back of her hand, and she's fantastic. And so she created this, and I'm going to go ahead and show you that. And there it is. This is the actual chapter 3 for roles and responsibilities. And this is what our page looks like in Pressbooks. And so you can see an example, another type of an example of an H5P. We wanted to talk about all the different healthcare team roles. And we were able to do that with a nice accordion without, you know, filling up too much space. If somebody wanted to learn, say, about medical lab scientists, they can pull that and learn that down, pull that down and learn it there. So at the end of this, though, she went ahead, and I'm doing this slowly because I don't want to make anybody nauseous, created this choose your own adventure activity using H5P. And I'm just going to click on a couple of these to start just so you can see, but you can give instructions. You can give a little bit of background of whatever, you know, patient or subject you want. And then, you know, she gave a little bit of a history there. And then you can choose whatever team member you are and follow that pathway. So there's a bunch of branching. This is called a branching scenario, or otherwise known as a choose your own adventure. But it's really nice because we're able to have the different students who are using this foundations module go ahead and you know, experience what it is to be another healthcare team member. So, but I really had a good time learning more about all the different types of H5P. And now, because of that, I did put in for one of those tech grants that Jenae was talking about, and was able to get the H5P LTI in Canvas. So before we were limited just to Pressbooks having that as an option, but now we can actually have it embedded in Canvas in our pages. So something like that drop down accordion I have in some of my classes. And also, you know, you can actually have it sync with the gradebook and different things along those lines. So let me get back here. All right. And sort of just what I said too, you can add H5P as an activity, as an assignment, or just page information, and it just makes the page more engaging. I use it also as a lot of study prep, and because we have the H5P LTI, I've gotten sort of rid of my Kahoot subscription because I can do the same stuff that I wanted to do in Kahoot, but it's now being, you know, has the same features here in H5P. So there's a lot of different things, I think, when you're thinking about using different types of technology, and that's what's great about talking with our Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology, sort of seeing where we have redundancy and what tools can be used to complete a lot of different functions. Because this also has a polling feature and different other things that people not only in I Teach Fully Online, but in face-to-face classes can use too. And those H5P activities will sync with the gradebook using the LTI, or Pressbooks does have now a compatible way of having H5P sync with the gradebook too, if you don't have the H5P LTI. And then the other thing that you can do with H5P is that what's great about it is that if the permissions are there, it's just like an OER. If the permissions allow you to reuse it, you can take content from other books or activities and put them into your course or your book. And so there's a little reuse symbol at the end of an H5P activity, and that will allow you to download that H5P file and use that content for how you need to use it. And you can modify it too if you find something you really like I found one of those game map things that I wanted, and I want to do it as for the human body because I teach medical terminology. Then I, could change that without having to come sort of reinvent the wheel. So, all right, Jenae.
What's next? So, what is nice about what's next is that early on, and I don't know if it was a mistake or not, we mapped out everything we wanted to do, like all 4 badges. And then we actually went back and said, let's just work on the one first. Let's work on the foundations, and then let's step into the next step. I think, and the instructional designers will understand this, that sometimes when departments come to us, they want something done really quickly. And it's like that, it doesn't work like that. There are going to be hiccups. There are going to be some trial and error. And so we did run into hiccups with different tools that we were using. So we're using the free version of Badger, like I mentioned. We're paying for Portfolium, which is an e-portfolio tool in Canvas that comes with this tool Pathways. Well, we realized as we were going into the next steps, because the next badges are more active, they're face-to-face, they're online simulations that the students are going to have to do. So they could technically do them outside of class. So then how do we track that? So our next steps, we are learning that we're going to need Canvas credentials or a step up from what we're using now. And really the free version is just going to turn into the credentials version. So we're hoping that goes smoothly. And it will also improve tracking for the courses. There was a great question in the chat about how we make sure that students aren't and I teach a psychology course too, one of the lower level cornerstones. So what if a student in my class transfers into another major and then has that same requirement? And so the badging really helped with that. And for us to be able to say, okay, you've completed this, you get to download this badge. If it's required in another course for some reason, you can then upload your badge and that would give you credit for it as well. So we're just looking to grow what we have now, and we're going to continue this process of including the faculty and students in this process to make it run smoothly.
And a little bit about the improved tracking system. That's sort of my thing, because as Jenae sort of alluded to, we have a lot of different faculty in all of our different departments and adjuncts, and we do several of our programs run sort of a lead instructor model. And so once I load the shell in the lead instructor model, in lead instructor shell, then sometimes they will pass this on to the other faculty. And so we're just trying to make sure that we capture which class it is in, just in case things happen. So far, we haven't had to do any updates or whatnot, but we just need to work on that too. So.
Mm-hmm.
And Jenae?
So insights, we definitely learned to design over time. We did do a lot of design up front, and then had to, change our minds on some tools and move back and forth. We definitely, I think Ann and I both learned to discuss the effort up front, because we would design and then it would be like, okay, this is going to be too much on the faculty, so let's go back and look at that again. I think it's really important to, as an instructional designer, to understand the faculty and the load they're under, and when things, even when they come down from the dean level, that something that needs to be added to a course can cause stress, or it's like, oh, I'm already doing all this stuff, so now I'm adding a little bit more to it. And so we try to be really understanding with that. We piloted a lot. We piloted small. We piloted in my class. We piloted in several other people's classes, and got feedback. And so communication is, if you could take anything from this session, it would be the communication and being able to listen to each other's needs, getting feedback often, being flexible, and that happened on both sides. You know, it's like, okay, you want this, but there's going to be a not a payoff, but there's going to be something you're going to have to like lose if we go this route, and really working together, and then adjust your timeline as needed.
Yeah, because I mean, we thought we were going to launch this almost a year, a year earlier, but you know, just trying to make those things work to get it to where it could be that faculty friendly module, and also not a lot on Jenae having to go in on the back end. So you know, and I swear we met every week for almost a year, I think, wow. Jenae. So yeah, so you know, definitely that communication is key. All right. And then for some of the key takeaways, the IP module designs allows integration in multiple courses with minimal faculty effort. It's not completely rid of any faculty effort, but it really, you know, once loaded, there's not much for them to do because it is auto self-graded, so that's not something adding to their grading burden. And you know, Pressbooks does contain engaging content and activities that are, you know, free for your faculty to use and share with their students. As I said before, H5P is very versatile in both Canvas and Pressbooks, and it really can enhance the, you know, students' learning experiences. And you know, OERs, as I said before, have positive impact for both faculty and students. You know, it's just a great way to have our students have low cost, engaging content. And as a faculty member, one of the reasons that I initially decided to be the guinea pig for my midterm class is because I was using an expensive textbook with online content, and they weren't doing a new version, and they had a bunch of errors in it, and they would not change it. And so I was really tired of having to have a million emails from my students to me saying, I got this one wrong, I know it's not wrong, and all that type of stuff. And it just was to the point where it's like, I wanted to be able to have the content that I knew my students needed and the activities that they needed in a way that I can control it. And so that was one of my big things. And it really has just made the course much more pleasurable to teach without having, you know, those issues occurring. So, all right. All right, time for questions. And I think Jenae's been handling a lot in the chat, but
they're great questions. They're really good. And one of the questions we got was just, have you thought about partnering with any of the schools that are our feeder schools? And I think that would be definitely an interesting concept to look at.
Yeah, we brought this up. We had a Gulf Coast, our first inaugural Gulf Coast Interprofessional Education Conference. And so, you know, we talked about several schools with that, actually talking about that. And we have some of our local state schools that we were talking about, you know, sharing that with. And we also have talked to our community partners because, you know, I can tell you back in the day when I was a newbie PT, this wasn't even talked about interprofessional education. You sort of learned it on the job, but some employers would like to have their new hires make sure that they're aware of this. And also that's another good thing about the badging system, because then that can actually be something that students can put on their ePortfolio or their LinkedIn, so that way, you know, employers know that they have this type of foundation. So.
And our QEP, I don't think we've mentioned this throughout, but our QEP is high impact practices and engagement. And so this whole project really aligns with the high impact practices, getting students involved, collaboration. And some of the coolest stuff they've been doing is the night at the ER is one of the options that will be available. And then within the college, they also do social work, does a poverty simulation. And so it can be either face-to-face or it can be online, but the students get to go through the process, and the faculty and staff get to be the kind of the resources around it, and watching the students from different majors. And we include any major in this, so business majors can come in and do some of these things. So the more collaborative they are, like my students are psychology majors, but when they're working with nursing majors, talking about what they would do in the ER situation, it gives them almost like on the job training for what to expect when they step into an environment where they're going to have to work with other professionals. And it's really just been a great process.
And with this process too, we have students that are from, freshmen all the way through grad students. So we made this module because the IPIC core competencies, it's all the same level. We wanted, this module is created so that no matter if you're, a freshman or you're a DPN, DNP, sorry, DNP, you could have this module and get what you need out of it to learn about those standards. So
Andi, one of the questions was, what feedback have you received from students and employers regarding the skills showcased through this initiative?
Well, with this, I mean, as I said, we have met with local employers who are interested in getting their employees to take this module. But overall, it's been very well received. I mean, it's not something that I had to fight with chairs or faculty to add to their class. It was more about finding the right fit. And it's been really a great process. I mean, in my role as Director of Educational Innovation, I've gotten to know a lot of the faculty in my college from that. But I now get to go to curriculum meetings and just sort of figure out what's the best fit. Because in one of our programs, a professionalism course is towards the end, and that's where they wanted it. And I was able to, talk them into another course because, that way they got this early on. So overall, it's been well received, and the students like it. I mean, they really have liked it, especially those that have done the module and then have participated in some of our interprofessional education activities. Last year, we had also a speaker come talk about civility in healthcare. And so, it's just given them a really good basis on the importance of communication and teamwork. And, somebody even mentioned something about the core competencies, and my heart was like, ooh, okay, that's great. They learned something from the module and they talked about it. So, it's really a nice way of getting the information in a sort of a concise way. Pretty good feedback so far.
And another question was, how would you approach it if your leadership suggested you needed to encourage this kind of interdepartmental collaboration? So I know it's us down from the top. I mean, the dean was all on board. So how would you approach it though if you needed to encourage this kind of interdepartment collaboration? And you did that. You actually went out to the different departments and said, okay, this is what we want to do. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that at least in healthcare, most of our faculty have worked in healthcare and know the importance of it. And so that's been, it really hasn't been that hard. But we have reached out to other departments such as cybersecurity. We have a big cybersecurity presence. And one of the interprofessional activities that we want to do is we want to involve cyber. And I mean, if anybody's worked in healthcare or even read on the news, cyber attacks and hospital systems cripple hospitals. So we are working on possibly doing a simulation that involves a cyber attack. So, but they're really interested in it too. So, so far it's pretty well received just because, everybody knows about the importance of patient care. Everybody as a patient at one point in their lives, or their family members are. And, this is helping our future healthcare professionals get that experience that will make their care better for you or your family members.
And we got hit hard locally last year by a cyber attack. So Ascension Sacred Heart here in Pensacola got hit and went back to paper on everything. And what I do love about our departments is we typically pull from those. We have hurricanes, we pull from natural disasters, we integrate that into our classrooms. And so I think that was a great way to show that healthcare needs, other majors to contribute and to discuss, and that it really is beneficial for both ways.
Yeah, and I know our healthcare admin, we work with the business school, so it's just one of those things, there's so many ways of interacting with different disciplines, even like music therapy. So, getting with the music department. So there's different things along those lines, but it's something that really hasn't been that difficult to promote, which has been nice. Any other questions? I know we're getting close on time.
Yeah, one of the other ones, what strategies have worked best for fostering true interaction and not just participation among students?
Sorry, could you repeat that again? Sorry, I was trying to read another one.
Oh, no, you're
Okay,
good. I think, well, it asks about what strategies have worked best for fostering true interaction and not just participation among students for different departments.
Well, it just depends on the activity. You really have to, what we try to do is we intentionally, when we get those, I mean, the IPE Foundations module is an asynchronous module that they complete on their own. It's those second badges and the second and third badges, the team and teamwork one. Those we actually broke out for when we had that civility and healthcare experience. They had to do some role playing. And so we actually forced them away from their friends. And so we had on their name tags, they wondered why they had different color name tags, because that's then they got put, okay, everybody with a red name tag, you go in this group. And so they, they really sort of get into it. And it's been, occasionally, just like with any team, getting sort of the people who are maybe a little bit more shy and whatnot, but it's a really positive environment because they're all wanting to do their best for patient care. So that's been, we haven't had to really, have a problem with that. And the other thing is with a lot of interprofessional education activities, faculty have to make it required. And because if you make it volunteer, it's just like with anything else. But having this as a requirement that they must participate in, say, 2 activities to get this badge or something like that, that has really helped. And that's what we've learned from talking with other institutions around the country. Having it as a required activity really helps with that participation. And that's why I know with a lot of faculty, just starting at the beginning of the semester, making even an attendance assignment, that has helped with that too for the foundations module, but letting them know up front in their programs too. Now programs are saying, hey, you're going to be participating in this badging system. This is what is expected for you throughout the program. And these are the different options for you, because not everybody's schedule will work out. And like Jenae had mentioned, we have Friday nights at the ER. That's a collaborative game experience. And we have both the digital versions and the face-to-face versions. So there's different options for students to attend the way that they need to, that meets their schedules.
Mm-hmm.
I think I answered that one.
It's amazing. I attend the poverty simulations as as the mortgage broker. And so, and Andi, what you usually, you're the health office?
Yeah, I'm the community health.
To watch the students walk around that room, they absolutely take on that role. And like part of my job is I walk up and I turn their chairs over, and their chairs are their home. So basically I'm saying, you haven't paid, you've lost this. They have money they walk around with, like Monopoly money. But it's really interesting to watch them and then listen to their feedback at the end. We do a lot of reflection at UWF. Reflection is part of our QEP, critical reflection. But to hear the students reflect after that session is so interesting and inspiring. Like, you really see how it affected them and they gained something from it because they went through the experience. So it's been really great.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing up the reflection, because that really is a big point about that. Actually, in 10 minutes, I will be doing a virtual Friday nights at the ER session because we have that with nursing and social work today. So, yeah, I mean, we really, that debrief and the reflection regarding activities is crucial and really makes those connections. I mean, that's actually what our QEP is called, Reflect to Connect, is those connections of what you're doing in the classroom to your actual profession. Anyway.
So Andi, I want to make sure you show our information or how to get a hold of us.
Oh, yes. Okay, sorry.
Lots of, I hope we could come back to get the stuff from the chat, because there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of collaboration opportunities, especially, well, with anybody within the state of Florida too.
Thank you so much.
Any other, let's see, there's one more. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. We thank you for hanging with us as the last session. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so very much. We'll give the round of applause for you.
That was fun.
Great numbers, great attendance, wonderful Q&A. We will definitely be able to provide you with the text in the chat if you would like to make sure that you can follow up with.
Awesome.
That would be great.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. Absolutely. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take back the screen.
Okay, let me stop my share. There we go. Yeah, did I do that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, cool.
Just you. All we see is you. Okay.
Okay, good. Whew. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also very, very much. At
Very
this
much.
time, it's 3:50, and I do see that people are entering back from the other room, so I will give people just a couple seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I see that people are coming back into room A, our main room. I will go ahead and give just a couple more seconds before I go ahead and start our finale kickoff. Again, thank you to all of you who have hung in for 3 days. I think all of you have most of you, I should say, have chimed in with one of us and told us that you've really appreciated the sessions, the opportunities, and we have to absolutely say the same thing. It's just been a wonderful whirlwind of 3 afternoons of our time that have just given me more to think about, more to go find time to look at and apply. But again, just so many great resources. So hopefully you are seeing my screen here.
See it. Looks great, Sue.
Okay, so we're done with Top Kit Workshop. What does that mean? Well, it absolutely does not mean that you're done with Top Kit or Top Kit Workshop. So what's next for us now that our workshop's done until, again, Workshop 2026? Well, there's a couple things. We are going to be posting all these fantastic sessions. We are meeting the next few days to make sure we can get our recordings solidified in a location and start to upload those. We usually upload them from the topkit.org workshop site and link them from the schedule, and we'll send out communication about that for sure. If you have any questions, need any help, have thought about something that you might want to contribute or need help from TopKit, email us. We're always looking at our email, making sure that we're keeping up with that. So if you come up with anything, feel free to email us personally if you've got our email, or send it right to TopKit and we monitor that. Also, keep an eye out. We have feverishly been working on an AI page to put up on TopKit. And as you can imagine, whenever we think we're done, we get a whole bunch of new resources and we think, where are we going to put those? Do we need to take anything out? So I promise we are working on it and it's going to be there. I thank you all that submitted some more resources for us. During the sessions that have happened the past few days, we will try, like I said, to review all of this and make sure that it's added to our TopKit AI page that we hope to have soon. After the session, we will be reaching out to all our presenters. You shared some really great things with us, and we want to make sure all of that is up at topkit.org, available to those who are interested. So we will be sending out a call for contributions and conference proceedings. So please make sure that you look for the email that will discuss that. And then I'm not sure if all of you are aware. I know some of you are aware. So TopKit was funded and basically had a second window for maintaining topkit.org, the workshop, the digest, and a few other outreaches for TopKit. And that concludes that schedule of deliverables in spring of 2026. However, we are having discussions with other people, other organizations, and really seeing what we can do to continue TopKit, to transition TopKit to something else. But again, we just feel that we've gotten a lot of feedback about what TopKit maybe needs to be going forward. So as we know and as we have plans, we will make sure to send that out to all of you. If you have interest or you have ideas for what TopKit Part 2 or what TopKit for the next few years may need to be to support us professionals here trying to train the teachers to teach online successfully and supports the students to be successful as well. So again, please make sure you look out for those. From all of us on the Top Kit Workshop team, I want to thank all the workshop team members. We could not have been done without you. I know you've seen my face and Charlotte's face quite a bit the past 3 days, but let me tell you, behind the scenes, all of these people have been supporting, answering chats, getting in Zoom, going over to Ruva. So again, it could not have been done without these people working together. And again, we're meeting all tomorrow to make sure that we get all the post workshop activities done and make sure those are out to you as well. So again, just a big thank you to the Top Kit Workshop team. As you know, we always like to kind of hear. Do you want me to turn this over to you, Charlotte? I know that you had I can do it if you want me to, but
I think you got it, Sue. Go for it.
Okay, great. All right. So we always like to have a little bit of a reflection. So if you have a moment, please go out to Top Kit um, Pagelet. Sorry, I could think of the word Padlet, and post. We want to hear some of the things that you've been thinking about. Pretty simple, pretty quick. We do create an annual report every year that we kind of give to the execs and other people, our advisory board, and let them know kind of how Top Kit's going. And I have to say, their favorite part is hearing from you. So if you can give us one word that describes what Top Kit Workshop did for you, or a few words, or other Top Kit Workshop ideas that you thought were most useful. These are the things that I would love to include in that report and just let them know the true takeaways from all of you from our workshop. So again, if you could take a few minutes to do that, that would be very much appreciated. Oop. This is also the final day that we will plug our survey to you. Again, soliciting information on what worked well, what didn't. How was WUVA this year? This is the first time we've used that platform. So again, just soliciting a lot of feedback from you. And again, a couple minutes for you to submit that would be really appreciated. And now for the next slide, I will turn it over to Charlotte. And I will give us a drum circle drum roll.
Okay, so I deliberately did not make a slide for this, you guys, because it has been changing all day. So thankfully, I am seeing the same thing that you guys are seeing, and it has been so tight between these two individuals. You guys are serious about your interactivity inside of Whova. But if we are looking currently, and this may change, and we will have prizes for our top 3 winners. So if you won first or second, you guys both get a prize. But currently, we have in third place, you know who it is, Susan, don't you? Miss Erica Orjuela in the third place spot. And in second place, we have the amazing Susan Wegman with 143,200 points. And certainly not to be outdone, the amazing Zaina Delaney also got 148,600 points. So the interactivity, woohoo! Big round of applause for our top 3 most active community members, and huge shout out to everybody else who also came in close, including Tara, Molly, Martha, Lauren, Jillian, Amy, and Linda as well, who are in our top 10. Huge congratulations to you guys. I'm going to be eliciting a good mailing address for you soon so I can send you your prizes through the mail. So great job, you guys. Thank you so much. Take it on over, Sue.
All right. Thank you again. It's tough to say, but that does conclude Top Kit Workshop 2024. I hope all of you have been inspired by our presenters. I hope you've been inspired by our theme. I really enjoyed kind of having the camp out outdoors theme for our Top Kit Workshop. We always solicit ideas. So if today or in the next few days or months, you think of a theme for maybe Top Kit Workshop 2026, we'd appreciate you again sending that into Top Kit. We would love to hear ideas. Again, we always solicit ideas. We always get great ideas, but the theme is such a great thing that we do. So again, thank you all for your attendance. Thank you all that presented and contributed. Thank you to all the workshop. Thank you to our advisory board and our ambassadors. I will say that if you've got a quality procedure that you use, or if you've got a semester checklist, or if you have an AI application that you think is relevant, please reach out to us. We'd love to post it up on topkit.org. And number one, kind of get you out there, maybe get you connected with other people who are working on the same thing so that we can do some collaboration. But with that, I thank you all so much again for your time, wishing you the best, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody. This was fun.
Good job, Susan. Way to go.
Take care. I really learned so much along with all the fun interactions, but y'all have a great day. See you later.
Thank you so much, Sue, Charlotte, and other Top Kit Workshop team members and our wonderful UCF colleagues, as well as our colleagues around the state and across the country. And this is a great workshop again, and there's so many takeaways for myself. and I certainly will schedule to watch back some of those recordings and check out some of those PowerPoint slides. So thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Tom. And Tom's a member at our advisory board and also chair of the advisory board and the best cheerleader that we have for Top Kit. So we thank you so much,
Thank you.
Tom, for all that you do at our meetings and just for helping us throughout the year. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thanks, Tom. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, that's all, folks. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
But I'm already home.
Oh, right. Well, maybe it's time to go get some coffee.
It's time to go watch some baseball.
Oh, that's
my
true.
goodness.
Like it's now.
I feel
Yeah.
bad. Actually, my kids just came through the door and they said, Mom, why didn't you tell us it was opening day? Everybody who was wearing their opening day jersey got on the news
Yes.
today.
That's fantastic.
It's my fault. I'm the problem.
See, I even reminded you this morning. and
It wasn't
still
early
nothing.
enough. They didn't leave with
Oh,
their jersey on. It would have been an Astros jersey anyway. So
Hey,
you
I'm
know.
surprised your Joe didn't say something. I mean, because come on, I'm sure he's excited as I am.
Yeah, but having to check every update for an elementary school is a